Hi everybody, welcome to Aimee Nolte Music. Hey, have you ever talked to anybody and they go on and on and on and on about themselves and never come up for air? Maybe you're stuck in a phone conversation and they are talking and talking and you need to go, and all you're doing is looking for one tiny break in what they're saying so that you can say, actually I gotta go, can I call you back? But you can't get one because they just keep going and going. And it's like their sentence must have a zillion commas in it because it never ends. Yeah, you ever talked to somebody like that? Maybe I'm pretty sure that sentence I just spoke had a zillion commas in it. And I'm not the case in point here, it's not me. That's not the nice way to talk to somebody though, right? You talk to somebody, you ask them a question, you listen to their answer, they ask you a question, you listen to their answer. That's kind of the polite way. And speaking of that, I actually have a rule for my family, for my kids, that if anybody's ever telling you a story about something and it makes you think of a story that's related to that one and you'd like to share it, you're not allowed to do it until you ask them one question about what they just shared. You can't just hear what they say and then be like, oh, that reminds me of the time. That's no good. You have to be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So how long were you up there on top of that mountain? One question that lets them know that you heard them, you care about what they had to say, you listen, then you can say what you want. Kind of what I'm going to talk about today, question and answers in playing solos, in improvising, and particularly over the blues. You know that when the blues in its purest form is AAB, right? It's something, and then that thing repeated again, and then something else. You know, so... could be that. Same thing, right? Now something new. Something like that. So it can be the same thing again, and then something different. That's like the blues in its purest form, right? Now you can solo that way. I mean, you can play the head of the blues, and then you can take a solo that's kind of like that. I mean, what if that was the head for your blues, and then you decided that you wanted your solo to kind of keep going in that way and be like AAB? You could. Pretty cool, and then you could even do it again, but it might get a little bit boring. And what I want to address today is somewhere in between that and playing bebop lines. So let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to fool around for a second and see if I can come up with something worth holding on to. I'll start at the 4 chord. How about that? So it starts on an E note, so that's the sharp 11. Let's do the flat 3. And if you're keeping score, the sharp 11 is a great note to start your blues line on. So this is my point today, right here. This is like your question. How was your trip to Yosemite? All right, like that's my question. Here it is. How was your trip to Yosemite? They answer you. And what do you think their answer is going to be? Not, I fell down underneath the waterfall. Nothing like that. I'm talking about a musical answer. What could their musical answer be? Can you think of one? It has to fit over B flat 7. 2 chords, two bars of it, right? And That's an answer, right? That's something. Nice. That's a pretty good answer. Now, how much do you like that first thing that we came up with? You have to decide that in the moment. Do I like that first thing I came up with? And I want you to pick an idea that you like enough that you want to go back to it. You were like, that was a good idea. I'm going to play it again. And I've told you before what happens when you do that. If you play an idea that's strong and you go away from it for a second and then you come back to it, everybody's like, that person's in control. They made a conscious decision to do that. They were fully confident in that first choice that they made, enough so that they're going to do it again. Change it a little bit. All right, so we've got this formula going on here. We got a question that's being asked, an answer that's being given, a question that's getting repeated again. Maybe they really sucked at their answer. Like, you got to ask it again. Like, nope, not quite what I asked. And then you ask your question again. I'm not coming up with another Yosemite example. Ridiculous. So yeah, you ask your question, there's an answer. Maybe they didn't give the right one. I don't know. So you ask it again. This time, they give a slightly modified answer, which is the right one. I don't know. This is how I'm thinking about it. Something like that, and you come up with your last thing that happens starting on that G7 chord. So if you guys are a little bit confused about our blues chords, let me teach them to you real quick. B flat 7, E flat 7, B flat 7, 2 bars of it, then E flat 7 for 2 bars, B flat 7, then we walk down to G7, C minor, F7, B flat, G7, C minor, F7. And the only thing I'm doing with my right hand is playing thirds and sevens. All right, so that was a pretty good idea. What if we come back and do it again? And I'm going to come up with another idea, and I would like you to come up with your answer. And I would like you to come up with an answer to it. Now, that's kind of impossible, but I'm going to pretend that I can hear you. This time, let's start on the 6th degree, so on a G. That's a pretty good one. Do you have something to answer? Sing it. Are you singing it? How about... That's a pretty easy one. Is that what I did? And then sticking with our formula, we're just going to do it again, right? Because one thing that works on B flat 7 is also going to work on E flat 7. At least it is if you use these kind of notes. B flat, C, D flat, D, E flat, E, F, G, A flat, B flat. These are all notes that are going to work. I only skipped the B natural and the A natural. Those are really the only notes that are kind of off limits when you're just playing down-home blues. I think that's what I did. Again. And then we're going to change it a little bit. So, can you hear 2 more notes instead of going Buddha? What's a way that you could change it? I hope that you thought of this, but if you didn't, it's okay. What if you just raised it an octave? That's a pretty good, like, third thing, right? C section. Yeah. Now, I would show you what I did, but I don't probably remember it. But maybe, I'll try. Hold on. That's the first part. Right? And then I have no idea what I did next. And that's okay, that's the way it should be. Let's try this one. That's a pretty good one. It gives you a little something. Okay, and then there you go. You got a couple new little easy blues licks. So it's a simple little formula, and it can work on songs other than the blues too, but I really like to teach it with the blues, just to kind of give you the idea that music should be like a conversation. Now, after a little bit, you know, you tell them about your crazy story in Yosemite, and when you really get going, like you're like, and the mountain goats chasing us down the hill, and my mother-in-law's pants fell down. I mean, then that's, you know, that's when. You know, as you build your story and more crazy things are happening, you're allowed to just, you know, ramble on a bit. I mean, at least more than you did at the beginning. But gosh, to start your solo, really give us something. Give us a question. Give us an answer. Give us a question. Give us an answer. Come on right back to that question. Answer it a little better the second time. Give me something new. Maybe come back to it in the second chorus. You got it. I know you can do it. Thanks for watching Aimee Nolte Music. Have a musical conversation. I'll see you next time.